Hey, Tom Casey here today talking to you about why ductwork in your attic would condensate or get water on it and leak, maybe have signs of leaks around registers and things in your ceiling, or even your ceiling registers themselves start to drip and condensate. Well, it has everything to do with the insulation of your ducts as well as the installation of your ducts. So let's talk about those couple of things. Number one, if your insulation is either missing or damaged or compressed, it's not doing as good of an insulating job. And so the surface temperature of the outer jacket of your ducts will go below dew point. Dew point is that point where moisture is going to condense. You know what it's like when you take a cold soda or a cold drink and you go outside and moisture forms on the outside of the can or the glass. That's condensation, and that's exactly what happens with your ductwork if the surface temperature goes below dew point. In certain climates of the country, like the southeast where it's a hot, humid climate, our dew points might be 80 degrees or hotter in an attic. So if the surface temperature of our ducts go below 80 degrees, we're going to get condensation and moisture and possibly water leaks. So we want to take a look at the insulation. Old duct systems that were 10 years or older had less insulation on them than modern duct systems. So often, if it's time to make a change and upgrade our system, we might have to upgrade our ducts so they don't sweat with new modern technology installed in them. The second issue that kind of goes with insulation is duct leakage, because if there's an air leak and cold air from the air conditioning system is leaking out right at the point of connection and it's blowing onto the surface of the ducts where it connects to a trunk or it connects to a mixing box or it connects to a register box, that cold air is going to cool the surface of the duct right there where the leak is, and then absolutely going to condense right there and be a moisture problem. That's often the challenge when you have stains around registers and stuff in the ceiling, because there's air leaks cooling down everything around it below that dew point, and so you've got that same phenomenon as your soda can, your cold iced tea out in the summertime, all that moisture on the outside of the glass, now it's actually on the outside of your register box in your ceiling. The other thing that happens with ductwork and condensation is airflow. If your ductwork is not sized properly for your system and the airflow is below the minimum, the air temperature is going to be colder than normal. And so if the air inside of your duct is colder than it's supposed to be, it's going to cool off the outer surface of your duct faster, and the likelihood of going below dew point is increased substantially. So it's important you have enough ductwork and your system is set up for airflow to be at the proper level to have cold air, but not too cold of air, because that can cause a lot of issues. So if you have a lot of condensation at ductwork, at connections, at branches, at registers, one of the things that you might want to suspect is my system moving enough air, or am I experiencing what's called low flow, and that low airflow across my unit is causing the temperature inside to be that much colder and everything's sweating. We see a lot of this happen at air handling units themselves, especially in garages or attics or crawl spaces where the unit itself is dripping wet. You can walk up to it and just literally wipe your hand and it's all covered with moisture. The coldest point in your air conditioning system is inside of your air handling unit where the cooling coil is. So if there's insufficient airflow right there, that's going to be the coldest point. Unfortunately, it's also often the worst insulated point. The insulation in your air handling cabinet is the lowest in your entire system. I know it doesn't sound like it makes sense that it's the coldest point with the worst insulation, but that's the way it is. So if the airflow is inadequate, if the airflow is not enough, your unit's going to sweat most likely. So if you see a sweating air handling unit with streaks of moisture, maybe even some microbials growing on the outside, they're probably growing on the inside too. One of the things we'd want to check is the overall airflow, which we can test and measure to make sure we can either make adjustments to your existing system, or if it's time to retire that and get a new system, that the new system and all the ductwork is sized properly. Again, insulation, lack of insulation, one of the big things causes condensation on your ducts that are not insulated enough. Air leaks, the cold air leaking cools the surfaces below dew point, causes condensation, and of course the air volume, how much air you're moving. If you're not moving enough, all the temperature splits get more extreme, the air is too cold, cools down the ducts, cools down the surfaces of the duct quicker below dew point, condensation. Boom.